Hi, it's me, and today we have a lens I've been meaning to test out for years, literally. It is the Sony E 24mm f1.8 ZA. It's a little Sony Zeiss lens that came out all the way back in 2011, over 10 years ago now. It accumulated a great reputation for itself very quickly, although that was a long time ago now. Is it still any good in 2022? Well, it had better be. At a cost of $800 and over £800 in the UK, it's incredibly expensive for an aps-c camera lens. That's right, it is for crop sensor cameras only, so it gives the full frame equivalent of a 36mm field of view. Really useful. The good news is that, being such an old lens, you'll be able to find a good second-hand model over on eBay, probably, for less than £500. Let's look at its build quality first. This particular copy of the lens has seen slightly better days, but still its beautiful construction is immediately apparent. It is small, metallic, tightly assembled, and it looks the business too. The only disappointment is that the lens is not weather sealed. The only control point on the lens is the metallic manual focus ring, which turns very smoothly and responsively. The lens exhibits only a very small amount of focus breathing. The lens's autofocus motor is silent and accurate, but not all that fast. Well, personally, I'd always prefer accuracy over speed. The lens comes with a decent quality hood, which is quite deep considering its focal length. Its filter thread size is a very small 49mm, its weight is only 225 grams or half a pound, and it does not have image stabilization. Overall, it is a dead simple lens with gorgeous build quality, and it looks fantastic on your camera too. Now onto image quality. I'll be testing it on a 24MP camera, my little Sony A5100. In-camera corrections are turned on. At f1.8 we see good contrast and excellent sharpness, although we also see a little colour fringing. There's a noticeable purple outlining here. Let's look in the corners. Sharpness and contrast are reduced there, as you can see, but for a 10-year-old lens, an impressive amount of detail is still being captured. Stop down to f2.8 and image quality in the corners becomes excellent, and back in the middle, any of that colour fringing is long gone. And that's about as sharp as the lens gets actually. It stays this sharp across the image frame down to f11, stop down to f16 though, and the image softens due to the effects of diffraction. Overall though, it's a great performance for such an old lens. No wonder it's always had such a great reputation. It would have had one of Sony's older 12 or 16MP sensors for breakfast. Okay, well, let's turn off those in-camera corrections and see about the lens's distortion and vignetting. The lens projects some moderate pincushion distortion here, and at f1.8 some pretty strong vignetting. At f2.8 and f4 those corners brighten up nicely, but still you should turn on those in-camera corrections. The lens has a nice little bonus feature. It can focus all the way down to 16cm, bringing you very close to your subject. At f1.8, close-up image sharpness is a little lower, and we see some colour fringing on contrasting edges, but contrast remains nice and high. At f2.8 we see improvement, and at f4 we see excellent picture quality. Now let's see how well the lens works against bright light. It is just an average performance here. Bright light cause little flaring, but quite a lot of broad glaring across the whole image frame, reducing your contrast. And while we're working in the dark, let's look at chroma levels. Over in the corners at f1.8 we see some notable smearing. Stop down to f2.8 and it goes away. And for those interested, let's zoom out and take a look at the sunstar situation. They begin to emerge quite clearly at about f8. At f11 and particularly f16, those sunstars become very nice and strong. Now let's take a look at this lens's bokeh. This lens's autofocus backgrounds are just on the smooth side of average here. We're not being treated to any spectacular smoothness, but they sure look nice enough to me. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. older Sony lenses tended to really struggle here, and we do see some clear blue and magenta colour fringing at f1.8 on bokeh highlights. Stop down to f2.8 or f4 for gradual improvements, and at f5.6 it's finally gone. Overall, well, as much as I was late to the party in testing this lens out, very late, I was actually really impressed with its performance even all these years later. It has aged really well and takes gorgeous, sharp pictures while looking really cool at the same time, and I had no real reservations about its image quality. I'm not quite sure if I'd ever pay $800 for an aps-c prime lens with an f1.8 aperture myself, but putting aside its price, the lens still has to come highly recommended. Well, colour me pink and call me Shirley. I tested a Zeiss lens and I really liked it. Something else I like doing is putting out exclusive content on my Patreon page. Take a look at the link in the description below. Supporters of this channel make a real difference to me getting videos out, get treated to all kinds of bonus content, and are, of course, guaranteed to feel warm and fuzzy inside for their generosity. Check it out and keep safe, everyone.